The migrant crisis moves inland as Hungary announces plans for a 4-meter-high fence to stop the flow of migrants and to protect its interests.
Hungary's recent decision to ban all illegal immigrants from entering the country marks a significant and controversial development in the nation's immigration policy. This move, seen by some as a necessary measure to protect national sovereignty and security, and by others as a stark violation of human rights and international norms, has once again placed Hungary at the center of Europe's immigration debate.
For a political bloc which has been so critical of separation walls elsewhere, the European Union is looking pretty good at closing itself off. This appears to be the most profound expression of Fortress Europe, the start of a fence aimed at shutting down access to the EU at its border between Hungary and Serbia.
It's a pretty safe bet that almost none of the Syrians or Iraqis or Afghans who might want to cross over this border have any particular intention of staying in Hungary, but for the government here, that doesn't seem to be the point. The European Union's member states were asked to decide exactly how many refugees they were prepared to resettle. Hungary has ended up bottom of that list. The government said it was prepared to take precisely no people.
The decision reflects deeper trends within Hungarian politics and society, influenced by historical experiences, current global dynamics, and the leadership of Prime Minister Viktor Orban. To understand the implications of this ban, it is essential to explore the context, motivations, potential consequences, and broader impact on Europe and the world. Before we start, please don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel for more updates. Hungary has long been a focal point in the European migration crisis, especially since the peak of the refugee influx in 2015, when hundreds of thousands of people fled war-torn regions in the Middle East, Africa, and beyond, seeking refuge in Europe.
Let's see if we can make sense of those numbers with Dr. Raphael Bossong, who's from the German Institute for International and Security Affairs. Welcome to DW. So, we know that the Syrian civil war was the big driver in 2015-16. Is it clear what's behind this current surge?
No, it's a more complicated picture. I mean, it's not one single crisis, apart from the Ukrainian war you mentioned. It's really the whole neighborhood in Europe, which is still, unfortunately, both in terms of violent conflict and in terms of economic and other instability, sort of a source of various sources of irregular migration and asylum seekers. For example, Turkey, you mentioned here, is a new development. And why is that? Well, on the one hand, yes.
Hungary, located at a key crossroads in Central Europe, found itself on the front lines as one of the first countries many migrants encountered on their journey to Western Europe. The government's response to this crisis was swift and decisive, with the construction of a border fence along Hungary's southern frontier and the implementation of strict immigration laws that effectively closed the country to illegal entry. The recent ban on all illegal immigrants is an extension of these earlier measures, solidifying Hungary's position as one of the most restrictive countries in Europe when it comes to immigration. This ban, however, is not just a simple policy decision. It is a reflection of a broader ideological stance that has shaped Hungarian politics under Orban's leadership. For Orban and his ruling Fidesz party, the issue of immigration is not just about border control, but is tied to questions of national identity, culture, and the future of Europe itself.
Tears of pain or relief or exhaustion. For more days than many can count, they've travelled, crossing borders by any means, fleeing civil war in Syria for the safety of the European Union. This is the welcome they get.
Yes, you're a refugee, I see. Yes.
Another group arrested, this time from Pakistan. They've just walked from Serbia into Hungary, the latest leg of a shattering 2-month journey from Islamabad. Where do you want to go to?
Go to Italy, Spain, Germany.
Orban has frequently framed immigration as a threat to Hungary's Christian heritage and European values, arguing that the influx of non-European migrants could undermine the cultural and social fabric of the continent. This narrative has resonated with a significant portion of the Hungarian population, particularly those who fear the loss of national sovereignty and the dilution of their cultural identity in an increasingly globalized world. By banning illegal immigrants, Orban aims to preserve what he sees as the essence of Hungary and protect it from the perceived dangers of uncontrolled migration. The decision to ban illegal immigrants has also been influenced by Hungary's historical experiences. The country's history is marked by invasions and occupations, from the Ottoman Turks to the Habsburgs to the Soviet Union. These experiences have fostered a strong sense of national pride and a determination to defend Hungary's sovereignty at all costs. In this context, the ban can be seen as a continuation of Hungary's historical struggle to maintain its independence and control over its own destiny. However, the ban on illegal immigrants has drawn widespread criticism, both within Hungary and internationally. Human rights organizations, the European Union, and various governments have condemned the move, arguing that it violates international law and undermines the principles of asylum and refugee protection.
So we have a structural problem indeed, yes.
So nationalist parties and far-right governments in Europe have long capitalised on public discontent over migration and asylum. So are these figures likely to fuel that?
I don't think the figure themselves make a big difference. I mean, the discourse has been going on for quite some time. I think the current sort of political debate is more, okay, what are we going to do about this? And what are the sort of proposed solutions? So on the one hand, mainstream parties are saying, okay, we agreed on this EU reform for sort of a more stringent asylum system, more order. And other actors are now saying, no, this is not enough. We have to take more radical action, so more forceful kind of border closures, or even, putting people only in third countries for having their asylum processed.
Under international law, individuals fleeing persecution have the right to seek asylum, and countries are obliged to provide protection to those in need. By banning illegal immigrants, Hungary is accused of shirking these responsibilities and contributing to the erosion of the global asylum system. Critics also argue that the ban could exacerbate the humanitarian crisis at Europe's borders. With fewer legal avenues available to them, desperate migrants may be forced to take even more dangerous routes, leading to increased suffering and loss of life. The closure of Hungary's borders could also create bottlenecks in neighboring countries, putting additional strain on their resources and increasing tensions within the region. Moreover, the ban could embolden other countries to adopt similarly restrictive policies, leading to a domino effect that could further undermine the protection of refugees and asylum seekers worldwide. The decision has also deepened the rift between Hungary and the European Union. Hungary has often been at odds with the EU over issues of democracy, the rule of law, and human rights, and the ban on illegal immigrants is likely to further strain these relations. The European Union has already initiated legal proceedings against Hungary for its immigration policies, and this latest move could lead to further sanctions or even the suspension of Hungary's voting rights within the EU. However, Orbán has shown little interest in backing down, positioning himself as a defender of national sovereignty against what he perceives as an overreaching and out-of-touch European bureaucracy. At the same time, the ban on illegal immigrants has resonated with other right-wing and populist movements across Europe.
He will not stop the people because they kill my children or my mother or my wife. I see my wife, she kill or somebody kill her. I will not stay there in my country, in the government. My government, he killed this people. I will not stay there. I will go to any country.
Busloads of others arrive. A large group of mostly Afghan children devour the small amounts of food the volunteers can offer. Their hope is in this piece of paper written in Hungarian, which says they're asylum seekers. But once the police drop them off, they're put alone onto the next train to Budapest, where it's anyone's guess what will become of them. Some are so young. Hungary's lack of interest in them is a total contrast to the money it's spending on the fence.
Leaders like Marine Le Pen in France, Matteo Salvini in Italy, and others have praised Hungary's tough stance on immigration, seeing it as a model for their own countries. The ban has also been applauded by nationalist and anti-immigration groups within Hungary, who view it as a victory for their cause. For these groups, the ban represents a triumph of national will over globalist pressures and a reaffirmation of Hungary's right to determine its own destiny. However, not all Hungarians support the ban. Opposition parties, civil society organizations, and many ordinary citizens have expressed concern about the impact of the ban on Hungary's international reputation and its long-term economic and social prospects. Critics argue that Hungary's hardline stance on immigration could isolate the country diplomatically and economically, making it more difficult to attract foreign investment, skilled workers, and tourists. They also warn that the ban could exacerbate Hungary's demographic challenges, including a shrinking population and an aging workforce, by reducing the inflow of young, dynamic individuals who could contribute to the country's growth and development. In addition, there are concerns about the potential for the ban to fuel xenophobia and intolerance within Hungarian society. The government's rhetoric on immigration has often been marked by inflammatory language and scare tactics, portraying migrants as a threat to Hungary's security, culture, and way of life. This has contributed to a climate of fear and suspicion, with reports of increased discrimination and hostility towards foreigners and minority groups.
Their hope is in this piece of paper written in Hungarian, which says they're asylum seekers. But once the police drop them off, they're put alone onto the next train to Budapest, where it's anyone's guess what will become of them. Some are so young. Hungary's lack of interest in them is a total contrast to the money it's spending on the fence.
What we do is definitely a substitution of government efforts, because the government...
Critics argue that the ban on illegal immigrants could further entrench these attitudes, leading to a more divided and polarized society. On the global stage, Hungary's decision to ban illegal immigrants has implications for the broader debate on migration and asylum. The move is part of a growing trend towards restrictive immigration policies and border controls, seen in countries like the United States, Australia, and parts of Europe. This trend reflects rising concerns about security, economic stability, and cultural identity in the face of increasing migration flows. However, it also raises important questions about the future of the international refugee protection system and the balance between national sovereignty and global responsibility. One of the key challenges posed by Hungary's ban on illegal immigrants is its potential impact on the principle of non-refoulement, which prohibits the return of individuals to a country where they may face persecution, torture, or other serious harm. This principle is a cornerstone of international refugee law, enshrined in the 1951 Refugee Convention and other international treaties. By closing its borders to illegal immigrants, Hungary risks violating this principle and setting a dangerous precedent for other countries. Moreover, the ban raises concerns about the potential for human rights abuses at Hungary's borders. There have been reports of migrants being subjected to violence, abuse, and inhumane treatment by Hungarian authorities, including forced pushbacks across the border into Serbia.
Every cultural community has its own identity, and we believe that Europe's identity goes back to Christianity, either as a religion or, lately, for the past couple of centuries, as a cultural identity. And most definitely this flood of migrants, if like an intercontinental mass migration, is posing a major threat to that.
Every day the game of cat and mouse goes on. On the motorway, a family from Iraq try to hide in the ditch, but when the police arrive, they're forced to scatter. Dad goes over the road, the boys over the bridge, others are caught up a side road. Will they see each other again? It isn't clear. And all the while, the trees come down as the ground is prepared for Hungary's Great Fence, its simple message to refugees: go somewhere else. Lawrence Lee, Al Jazeera, on the Hungary-Serbia border.
These practices have been widely condemned by human rights organizations and the European Court of Human Rights, which has ruled that Hungary's treatment of asylum seekers violates their rights to dignity, protection, and due process. The ban on illegal immigrants could lead to an increase in such abuses, as the government seeks to enforce its new policy with even greater rigor. Another important aspect of Hungary's decision is its impact on the broader European migration policy. The European Union has long struggled to develop a coherent and unified approach to migration, with member states often divided on how to share the responsibility for hosting refugees and asylum seekers. Hungary's ban on illegal immigrants is likely to exacerbate these divisions, making it even more difficult to reach consensus on a common migration policy. This could lead to further fragmentation within the EU, with individual countries pursuing their own, often contradictory approaches to migration and asylum. Hungary's decision could have broader geopolitical implications. The migration crisis has already strained relations between the EU and neighboring countries like Turkey, which hosts millions of refugees and plays a key role in controlling the flow of migrants into Europe. Hungary's ban on illegal immigrants could increase pressure on these countries, potentially leading to a breakdown in cooperation and an increase in tensions. Moreover, the ban could have ripple effects beyond Europe, influencing migration policies in other regions and contributing to the global trend towards more restrictive borders and immigration controls. If you like this video, please give it a like and subscribe to our channel. Also, could you leave your comments below and tell us, do you agree with Hungary's immigration ban? We want to hear from you. Thank you for watching and see you next time.